You're watching The Great Americans. Number 4, Abraham Lincoln, How His Genius Saved the Union. I'm Dave Balog. Our Constitution is the envy of the world. It has guided the world's most respected democracy for 234 years. Tear it up at this point for an avowed wannabe dictator? Well, the Southern slave powers very well could have ended the American experiment. The framers of the Constitution made no definitive statement on slavery. There was no use of the word in the Constitution. The slave states and private enslavers were wealthy and funded the U.S. through tariffs and taxes. New York City, the country's financial center, even considered siding with the Confederacy. In the prelude to the Civil War, one of the last solutions attempted was the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Popular sovereignty, popular voting, would decide whether these slaves would be slave or free. It failed. The result, bleeding Kansas. Well, the Republican Party began under Lincoln around the Civil War. He was elected by a minority vote in 1860, and once he was elected, he tapped what historian Doris Kearns Goodwin called a team of rivals, his competitors in the election. Left to right, Treasury Secretary Salmon P. Chase found a way to raise desperately needed money for the war. Secretary of State William Seward, center, kept France and Great Britain neutral. Attorney General Bates carried out Lincoln's war policies. The Treasury Department under Chase introduced the first national currency and the nation's first income tax. Lincoln and Congress, knowing that the country needed to grow the economy, even in the midst of a bloody civil war, passed the Pacific Railroad Act in 1862. To educate the growing population, Congress and Lincoln passed the Morrill Act of 1862 to establish land-grant colleges and universities, still the foundation of our state colleges and universities. On January 1, 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a significant part to the end of slavery in the United States. In his second inaugural address, Lincoln addressed slavery as the cause of the war, and he looked ahead. Let us strive on to bind up the nation's wounds and to care for him who shall have borne the battle and for his widow and his orphan, said Lincoln. In the crowd, listening, was John Wilkes Booth. A little more than a month later, Booth, claiming his motive was to avenge the loss of property by his fellow Southerners, killed Lincoln. As he leapt to the stage at Ford's Theater on that Good Friday night, Booth yelled, "Sic semper tyrannis," thus always to tyrants. Lincoln and his plans for Reconstruction died that night. Well, let's learn more. Start reading our books for free. Find the links in the description below this video. And remember to click the word MORE, M-O-R-E, to read the full description. And finally, register to vote and show up at the polls. Only 60% of us vote. If you don't vote, you're giving away your power. Well, thank you for watching. Be well, be kind, be involved.